David Zurawik, Z-U-R-A-W-I-K, pronounced Zurawik, is with us again today. He's the Baltimore Sun's media critic. This is what Keith Olbermann had to say the other night on his show.
Time for Countdown's number 2 story. Tonight's worst persons in the world. The bronze of David Zurawik, a television blogger for the Baltimore Sun, insisting on CNN, quote, "I don't want to overstate this," and then saying my work is, quote, "really, that path lies fascism." He is saying madman stuff. Even Rachel Maddow, he continued, who's the nicest, with her snide smile and arched eyebrow and mocking, they target people and hold them up for ridicule. It's exactly what happened in propaganda in the 30s in Europe. I'm not kidding you! No, more accurately, he's kidding himself. Instead of analysis of TV news or insider information, his blog is, time after time, simply a louder and louder version of the previous one, based on what he does and does not like politically. Mr. Zurawik's screams about this network and its hosts have been so many and so hysterical that he must either be a blind ideologue or on the take. There's also something embarrassing here. He's also offered recent critiques of what stories MSNBC should and should not be covering and how it should make other editorial and newsroom and even financial decisions, which is somewhat ironic considering Mr. Zurawik is among those who have turned the Baltimore Sun from the finest newspaper south of Delaware into the wards of a bankruptcy referee.
Yeah, great stuff. So I'm sitting there the other night on the couch and I see your image on this show. I watch Olbermann from time to time. I find it somewhat entertaining. And then there's David's face, and then there's this rant from Olbermann, and referring to you as being a blind ideologue or on the take, meaning you're being paid off by somebody for your views.
Yeah.
And then it blames me and everyone else, all of our other news editorial colleagues at the Sun, for our parent company's financial dilemma.
Yeah.
Actually being in bankruptcy.
Yeah.
So again, way over the top. But what is he responding to here?
That's his act. On Sunday, I was on Reliable Sources. You know, I've been on there the last 4 years
Howie
on a
Kurtz.
kind of regular basis
On
with
CNN.
Howie Kurtz. Yeah. And by the way, Dan, all of this today, we have the post up now, as you know, at ZonTV at BaltimoreSun.com on the blog, where I respond sort of point by point, but I don't want to get tedious about point by point, because this is really Olbermann, and this is a rhetorical rabbit puncher. You know, this is not a guy you're having a debate with. But on Sunday on Reliable Sources, the topic was something I've been talking about for a long time. All news cable channels going to opinion instead of providing information. They call themselves news channels, and yet they're not providing verified information, they're providing opinion. And in that conversation, the managing editor, Lauren Ashburn of USA Today Live, and she was the first one to say it. I agreed with her. She said, well, this is bad for America because democracy in a free society needs a steady flow of information. And if these folks that are called news channels aren't providing it, then that's bad for democracy. I totally agree. I agreed with her. I've said it a million times. Yeah. And we said, and so I think maybe, a lot of websites wrote about the Sunday show, and virtually all of them said MSNBC and Fox, bad for America, with
a question mark.
Yes.
Are Fox and MSNBC bad for America?
But everybody saw it as Fox and MSNBC. So Olbermann then, Tuesday night, I guess, does this thing where by the way, it's not the worst person. I think Laura Ingraham got that. I was the bronze, the runner-up, third runner-up.
You're one of three that he names.
This is an important point for fans of Olbermann, I guess. He skewed it, as you can see, to say I only attacked MSNBC. Wasn't true, I attacked Fox. And in the point of being a blind ideologue, in my blog, I say, tell that to Sean Hannity or Greta Van Susteren. That was on Reliable Sources Sunday. Mm-hmm. Monday in the New York Times, I was quoted in a piece by Brian Stelter criticizing Greta Van Susteren for what I called her cotton candy interviews with Sarah Palin in the relationship. So that covers Fox and that covers MSNBC. CNN, as you will remember, I criticized Ali Velshi for exactly the same thing. Instead of during the meltdown giving us information, he gave us overheated opinion. And in fact, Velshi attacked me on CNN, and the video went viral because it was two bald guys who looked like they could be brothers yelling at each other, me and Velshi. So that covers CNN, Fox, and MSNBC. So in relation to the innuendo of must be paid off, who would it be that's paying me off for all this great coverage I'm giving them?
You've been a critic of all three cable channels.
And what would be the ideologue? But here's the thing. This is too unbelievable. It's almost mind-boggling. For Keith Olbermann to call someone else, forget me, anybody, an ideologue who, quote, screams the same points over and over?
Yeah.
Is this not define the psychological concept of projection? Is this not the kettle calling the pot?
Yeah.
Is this not really strange?
Right.
So, you know...
That's what he does.
But that's what he does. That's his whole act. This is what really has made me sharpen my focus on MSNBC. Is that, remember on Thanksgiving weekend when during the Mumbai attacks, they didn't cover it. They ran those old moldy documentaries about predators in prison and missing children.
Oh, the weekend is terrible there.
And 2 Sundays ago,
it's a wilderness.
When President Obama was speaking at Notre Dame about abortion, it was ground zero for at least 12 or 24 hours in the culture wars. They didn't cover it. They showed these old things. Here's what
it's cheaper to do that.
Yes, Dan,
it's cheaper not to have reporters contributing news reports to a show like Oberman's.
Turn the lights off on the weekend, run old documentaries.
Yeah.
What a great business model, and that's what's dangerous about this. If we go down that road totally, Dan, I think it really does hurt democracy. You cannot have an informed electorate if you don't. That's why we get the privileges we get in the press. That's why it was set up this way by the people who set up this country. And in the litany, the Zurawik litany of Oberman, Maddow, Hannity, O'Reilly, and Lou Dobbs. I'll stick Lou Dobbs in.
You don't mention Chris Matthews.
I haven't mentioned Chris Matthews. I'll tell you 2 reasons. One, he admits his Democratic Party affiliations, and he was thinking of running for Senate. So he's very clear about that. Secondly, I think probably I do have a little bit of prejudice for him because he was a reporter, a Washington Bureau reporter for San Francisco paper. And I respect that. And you saw those chops in action last night. I don't know what Oberman is. I mean, now, this will sound petty. Oh, Zurwik's upset he mispronounced his name. But he had a tape. He showed a tape where they did pronounce my name correctly.
Right.
And in broadcast journalism over at Goucher College where I teach, the first thing we teach them is pronunciation as important in broadcast news as fact-checking the spelling of a name is in print journalism. This guy hasn't the most basic... you said it.
Well, he might have done it intentionally.
I think that was. I think it was to demean you, a rhetorical device.
And that seems so juvenile to me.
That's exactly it. But Matthews, I have always thought... is more of a reporter, and he's more honest about who he is. Now, when he was at the one of the conventions this summer, when he and Oberman were fighting over who was going to be the alpha male sitting at that desk, I went after him because it was outrageous what the two of them were doing. But again, I think that was Oberman dragging him into the hot dog gutter where this rabbit-punching swine lives. Did I say that? No, I'm kidding.
Don't say those things. I'm trying to help you here, Z.
That's all you'll hear on the show tonight. Rabbit-punching swine. It'll be totally out of context.
Maybe you'll be the worst person in the world tonight.
I'll move up to silver.
Eric's helping us out with Keith Olbermann's background. He was a sports correspondent for CNN in the 1980s, later co-hosted ESPN's Sports Center from 92 to 97, as sports anchor and producer for Fox Sports Net from 98 to 2001.
Sports correspondent for CNN in the 80s, if you remember the Chicken Noodle Network, as it was known in those days, isn't a very good journalistic credential.
I think we all have to start somewhere.
I think David. It may have been the guy with the chicken on his head and the microphone. That may have been what he did. He was the team mascot. Dixie, can I say one quick thing? And this was something that upset me. Was on the day of President Obama's speech at Notre Dame, Fox did cover it. They kept Cress Wallace in the studio after his morning, his Sunday morning talk show. And they were out there and they did a very good job. I was surprised because I've been very hard on Fox because for a time I thought they were the most opinionated and did so little news reporting. They have actually improved in some ways since President Obama was elected. Now, there may be some ideological reason for that. They want to find things. They think they're the watchdog. They're going to be better. But as they have committed more resources to covering the news, now I'm not saying it's not highly partisan because you can't get more partisan than Sean Hannity. I am surprised that MSNBC has gone in the other direction and retreated from committing itself to presenting news and information the way they have, especially since they have the resources of NBC News behind them. All they have to do is piggyback sometimes on the NBC
Right, and you would have more news content, true news content.